Welcome to Inside the 12 and down the stretch we come. I am your host, Pete Souza, and we've got an action-packed show. We're talking about two top 20 matchups on the men's side. We're talking about the biggest game possibly of the college basketball season in the Big 12 on the women's side. College game day coming to Fort Worth. To break it all down, to start off this first segment, we got to bring in Austin Ivan. She played hoops at Oklahoma State. She's covered this league. She's battled in this league. Every time I turn around, I see you as a color analyst on another Big 12 game, or I see you breaking down the women's action in the Big 12. What have you thought about this season? It has been elite.
It really has. I'm fortunate to have a front row seat for a lot of these games throughout the year. It's been an exciting season. It's crazy to think it feels like it was just the other day. These teams were trying to all mesh, figure out how they were going to look in the Big 12, and now here we are in the home stretch. March means meaningful basketball, and we have that ahead of us for sure.
And King McClure fans, don't worry, you can settle down. King is on a little load management. We're bringing it back for the second segment, but we are all women's basketball in this first one. Time to bring in the third member of our team, Rachel Galligan. She joins us right now as we are set to break down this women's matchup. College game day, going to Fort Worth. Rachel, let's start with you. What does this mean for the conference and this game to be featured on such a huge stage nationally as we get set to put the finishing touches on this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to put into words just how meaningful this moment is for the Big 12, and to have it come down to one game, the final game of the regular season. I mean, no surprise here, seeing this matchup again, TCU and Baylor. I mean, we basically have one game to determine the regular season champion. We know that TCU has already clinched a share of it, and they will win that outright with a win on Sunday. But obviously, if Baylor is able to win that game, they will also get a share of that regular season championship.
Austin, I want to go to you for this one. In the first matchup, 83-67, TCU wins convincingly. In this matchup, obviously adjustments will be made. What do you feel like the teams learned about each other the first time they met?
Well, Talia Scott said that they were embarrassed by the way they performed just a couple weeks ago when they played TCU. They are looking to get some revenge this time around. They have a sour taste in their mouth. For Olivia Miles, we know what she is capable of. The head of the snake for TCU. She can do it all. The playmaker loves to just spray the ball around, get everyone involved. She would rather dish out an assist than go and score herself. What we saw in that game a couple weeks ago, her 40 points, 24 points in the third quarter out of 25 of TCU's total points. I don't know if she can go off for 40 again or if she can knock down 10 threes, but that would be exciting if she can.
Rach, what's the biggest factor for you, these teams meeting a second time? What do you think that could have been learned the first time by either one of these teams that we could see impacting this one, a lesson learned that they can take moving forward to change things up in this game?
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of echo on top of that, I think when it comes to Baylor, they got away from who they are defensively in that first matchup. You know, they really wanted to make Olivia Miles be a little bit more offensive minded, and that's when, that she went off for 40 points, obviously proving that she can score the basketball and shoot the basketball from the three-point line. I think, we've got to remember that Baylor is one of the top defensive teams in the country. They're second in three-point percentage defense. It didn't show in that first game. And so I think if I'm Baylor, we're going to see a totally different game plan defensively. I think you got to just get back to the basics and who you are from an identity standpoint. And when it comes to TCU, like in that game, we got to remember they were coming off a loss on the road to Colorado. And that win at Baylor, I think they learned a lot about themselves. They kind of grew up together as a unit, although this is one of, if not the oldest team in the country. But playing against a good team on the road, responding after that Colorado loss, and really just coming together and figuring things out. I think we've seen a TCU team that has shown resilience in the second half of games, not just in the Baylor game, but we saw it in that Iowa State matchup as well just a few days ago.
And ladies, just so you know, it was Rachel that said they were the oldest team. All right? it was not me. By the way, Olivia Miles, we mentioned her going off in that last game. It's almost Olivia March, right? Because we're down the stretch. Cannot wait to see how she plays in this game. All right, Austin, we've talked about the stars. Talk to me about an X factor. Who do you feel could have a real decisive impact on this game that we're not talking about?
It's not a player for me. It's not a coach. It is the crowd. It is the home court advantage that TCU is going to have in this one. They are dominant at home. The senior class, they don't know anything except winning in the Scholmeyer Arena. It's senior night. It's going to be packed in purple, and I think that is going to definitely play into the favor of TCU playing at home.
All right, we know Austin, when she played, she was the human X factor, so nobody better than her to break that down. All right, let's talk about some other games coming up this weekend. When you guys have to look, and Rach, we'll start with you, at the schedule. Again, we're turning the page here to the postseason, but there's still some work to be done. What matchup jumps off the page at you here as we show them to you on your screen?
I mean, I've been doing nothing but doing scenarios, and my mailbox is flooded with scenarios. It's hard to pick one, right? It is interesting. We have a possibility of a tri-champion. Say Baylor were to beat TCU on Sunday and West Virginia were to beat Cincinnati. We would have a three-way tie at 14-4 between those three teams. So really interesting kind of storylines going into that final day as to who is really going to be, the regular season champion.
Austin, when you see this schedule, obviously, what game is important and what game are you going to be keeping your eye on?
Well, I think Arizona State and Texas Tech both coming off losses. They haven't played each other this year, so that's an interesting one. But I also really like the Kansas and OSU game. They are both coming off big wins, ranked wins. They're feeling good. At this time in the season, it's all about peaking, having confidence. Both of these teams do. And I feel like both of these teams are more than capable of making a deep run in the Big 12 tournament and the NCAA tournament. And so it all starts in that last game of the regular season, trying to carry some momentum to Kansas City.
This time of year, it is time to start talking about Kansas City, right? And remember, the Phillips 66 Big 12 Women's Basketball Tournament tips off in Kansas City March 4th through the 8th. Make sure you get your tickets. It's going to be at the T-Mobile Center. Nobody puts on a party like the Big 12. Get your tickets now. So excited for this one. We are coming to Kansas City. Kansas City, here we come. And when we get to Kansas City, Austin, let's start with you. Outside of these top-ranked teams, I know you've got a big one. People are excited. People are excited to hear this. You got our attention before the show. Who do you think that could be a dark horse? And I'm not saying that they're going to run the table and go to the NCAA tournament, but who could make some noise in the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City? Somebody, again, that we're not talking about.
Well, there really is so many endless possibilities because there's a slim margin in between all these teams at the top of the standings. I feel like I have to mention West Virginia. They're not a dark horse team because they are at the top of the standings, but they have annihilated some opponents throughout this season. But I want to mention a team, like you said, no one's probably expecting it, but I'll say Arizona. I saw them a couple weeks ago in person. They played Baylor tough for 3.5 quarters, and they're a little bit desperate, and desperate teams just play different. So we'll see what they can do in Kansas City. They want to prove that they can hang in the Big 12. Yeah. I think they will, certainly win. They could win a game in Kansas City, no question about it. Yeah, they had Baylor on the ropes up by 10 at halftime in a game that quite possibly they really could have made a ton of noise in it, but obviously they got your attention. How about another Rachel Galligan, a dark horse for you?
Real quick, Kansas. I think Kansas is a team that at times has underachieved a little bit this year. They've been in a lot of games lost by single digits. I think Julia Davis has the potential to be National Freshman of the Year. She's been absolutely fantastic. But one of my biggest dark horses, I want to draw some attention to Iowa State. We have to remember this team was picked second in the Big 12 in the preseason polls for a reason. Part of the reason why they dropped out of the rankings, they hit that lull in the middle of the season, they lost 2 starters. There is totally a possibility that this team goes into Kansas City, catches their stride, and even goes beyond Kansas City into the NCAA tournament. They have Sweet 16 potential, especially when fully healthy.
You got to have elite analysis on Inside the 12, and Rachel Galligan and Austin Ivan, you guys both brought it. We appreciate you guys so much. I cannot wait for this Baylor TCU game coming up this weekend, and Kansas City, here we come. Ladies, we will see you soon. I'm sure we will be talking March Madness. Thanks for the time. All right, we will step aside, but we will be right back. Kansas and Arizona, don't blink during this game. When we come back, King McClure off the bench to tell us why you cannot miss a moment. Inside the 12 rolls on right now. Pete Souza back with you from our studios at the PGA of America. We are joined now by the Hooper, King McClure, as it is time. That is right. There he is, folks. I mean, everybody can breathe a sigh of relief.
Off the bench, ready to let it fly.
By the way, I was looking at your Baylor numbers.
Yeah.
You played almost every game. You played 130 games in college.
Look, I was a team guy. You know,
yeah.
I was a team first guy. I didn't really score the ball all the time, but as far as just being about the team, being a good guy, that was me. So I did play a lot.
And we noticed you came off the bench, so we figured it would work today. Once in a while. He started the majority of the time, but he did come off the bench once in a while. But first, Want to talk about some of the games that we have coming up this weekend. Colorado at number 5, Houston. That's one you got to keep an eye on. That's noon on ESPN2. And then number 19, BYU. Kind of trying to get things back together. They're at West Virginia. That's 5:30 on Fox this weekend. A lot of big-time basketball in the Big 12. Again, 1 week left pretty much before that Big 12 tournament in Kansas City. Let's go back now to number 14, Kansas, and number 2, Arizona. This one's in Tucson. You've done a couple games out there this year. It's Saturday at 4 Eastern time. This one on ESPN. Now, before I guess we look at this one, let's take a look back. Run some of the video here, guys, and we can see what happened in that first appointment. Kansas won the game at home, 82-78. They didn't have Darren Peterson, but Melvin Council was out of control.
Yeah, I mean, Kansas played exceptionally well. I mean, the way that they were able to score the basketball, the toughness that they provided. I mean, you asked that question of how do you match up with Arizona's physicality, and they said that they could do it. Bryson Tiller had a great game. You look at Badunga. This was one of the best games that we've seen Badunga play, but you're right. Melvin Council, throwing up the lob right there, but Melvin Council's ability to be able to go from Batman to Robin is as good as anybody in the country. I mean, that block that Badunga had at the end for the game, I mean, that's so high level. They showed us the toughness that you need in order to win big games.
And good news coming out of Tucson, at least good news for the moment. They've gotten encouraging reports medically for Koa Pete. It's quite possible we will see him on Saturday. We expect to see Darren Peterson as well. He was absent in that first game. And one guy who I think, I'm curious to get your take on this, could have a really big impact is Trey White. He had a middle of the road, right? He was mid, as the kids like to say. He was mid in that first game, right? But if he plays well, Peterson's back, that could even be tougher for Arizona to overcome, even if they're playing at home.
Yeah, that just adds another weapon. And I mean, when you look at the game that he played against Houston, I mean, he was phenomenal. I mean, his ability to be able to spot up in the corner and knock it down from deep when the ball gets swung his direction. He can drive, he can put the ball on the floor. He brings so much to the table. And he doesn't try to do too much. He just takes what the game gives him. And as a result of that, I think that he makes this team that much more dangerous, especially on the offensive side.
Yeah, and it's interesting to look, you know, how these teams have done since that huge game that Kansas won at home. Arizona's 3-1, Kansas is 2-2. It feels like, though, Kansas has done a terrific job, and Bill Self likes to say this, right? Don't let one loss become two. And they've done that since this loss, or excuse me, big win at home. What do you make of Kansas coming into this game? We mentioned 2-2 over their last 4.
I think they're playing well, and I think they're starting to figure it out. I think that all the noise, all the outside noise is starting to finally get to this team, and Darren Peterson is finally taking on that role of like, all right, you know what? I've had enough. I'm going to start playing. And he's actually playing in these games, and although he's not necessarily putting up the same numbers he was early on, I do think that he wants and he's tired of hearing everybody talk about how he doesn't play. So if you notice, he's been more consistent in his minutes, not subbing himself out. He actually is trying to play the whole course of a game. So I think that they're slowly growing into their identity of who they will be when Darren Peterson is actually a consistent team member and is actually on the floor.
And you and I talked about this about a week ago. He's actually, a big change he's made is he's talking now. I mean, talking to the media has really helped his cause. I think that's taken some of the sting out of stuff that happened in the past. And it's so funny, man. We all talk a lot, right? All the morning shows, we do it right here. We're all prisoners of the moment. Bottom line, this dude's playing now, and if he's in the game on Saturday, it makes Kansas better every time. And the more he plays, the more you don't hear that noise anymore. All right, who you got in this game if you had to pick somebody?
I have Arizona in this game. And the reason why I think the biggest differentiator between Arizona and Kansas in that first matchup was Allen Fieldhouse.
Yeah.
It was the arena. It was the atmosphere. That was the biggest difference. Going into Allen is one of the hardest places to play in all of college basketball, and that right there is why Kansas was able to get that win. That the fans, the loudness, that propelled them to beat Arizona. So now it's the reverse. You're going to the McKell Center. That group will be loud. The fans will be rowdy. It might not be as loud as Allen, but it's going to play a major role. So I'm taking Arizona in this matchup.
Arizona, that's who Kings got. We'll find out exactly what goes down on Saturday. When we come back, we're going to take you inside. Texas Tech and Iowa State, another top 20 matchup here in the Big 12 this weekend. What else is new? 16th ranked Red Raiders, 4th ranked Cyclones. We've got it all for you on Inside the 12. It is time for our game-breaking plays, brought to you by Hell of a Good Dip. Game on, dip in with Hell of a Good. Pete Souza joined by King McClure as we go through some of these highlights with you. Nate Johnson, they were calling this a dot all over the internet. That's a touchdown pass to P.J. Haggerty, laying it up for 2.
And Braden Burries, oh my goodness. What are you doing? I didn't even know he had this in his game, Pete. For the easy flush, caught a body, put him on a poster.
That body was Mikey Ratai, by the way. All right, let's take a look at Delaney Gibbs spinning her way to the bucket just at the end of the third quarter, beating the buzzer. And yeah, surprise, surprise.
Famous folks, you get a stop, you get rewarded like this. One of the best passers in the Big 12, setting up Jordan Burks for the behind-the-back pass. That was absolutely pretty, Pete.
Jordan Burks is scary, too. He runs the floor like that. He can shoot a little bit. UCF, man, they've basically punched their ticket to the NCAA tournament. We'll get to them shortly. Pete Souza and King McClure, it is time now to jump into our matchup. We've got Iowa State at home on Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern time on CBS. They take on Texas Tech. You just had a trip to Lubbock. You got the opportunity to see Texas Tech beat Cincinnati in person. Life without JT Toppin. How's it going for the Red Raiders?
It's going great. When you look at what they've done in their last 2 games against Kansas State and Cincinnati, right? Kansas State, we know they're not the best. Cincinnati is the 10th best defense in college basketball. They were able to hang 80 on that Cincinnati defense. This offense of Texas Tech has not gone down. I mean, they're averaging 90 points in the last 2 games. I hear you.
You said it's going great, now you're saying it's not gone down.
It has not gone down.
He's one of the best players in the country.
You were absolutely right. He creates an advantage every single time he touches the basketball. But when you have guys like Jeff Linder, the basketball mastermind that is the assistant coach, head of the offense for Texas Tech, now you find different ways to create an advantage. And one way is the way that Christian Anderson is playing. So let's roll the film, all right? Let's go inside the game presented by New Era, because Christian Anderson has been absolutely terrific, especially in this game, right? No guard in the country has been in a pick and roll more than Christian Anderson. Also, no guard in the country has created more points, whether that be assisting or whether that be scoring in the pick and roll, than Christian Anderson. This is what Texas Tech strategically does. They put him in a pick and roll because they understand how good he is. He can shoot the ball like this off the dribble. He can facilitate. I mean, they do such a good job of just making things easy for Christian Anderson, and he's that level of good that when you surround him with shooters like Donovan Atwell, who is one of the best shooters behind Momcilovic, not in the Big 12, but in the country, right? That just opens up everything. The way that they are playing, the way that they are disguising their coverages on offense in order to be able to put Anderson in positions to succeed, man, I'm not necessarily worried about what they do on offense.
Hope is alive in Lubbock, baby,
alive.
in wake of the injury to JT Toppin. Of course, we hope JT's well. He'll be back soon enough. But, yeah, in the meantime, you feel like the Red Raiders are doing okay. All right, let's take a look. You mentioned Momcilovic. We got to take a look at this guy. And I want you to tell me how in the world Texas Tech can stop him. You know, before the season, I do want to mention, TJ Otzelberger said, I want you to hunt threes. You have got to be that guy. He has answered, dude. He just broke a record for threes in a season for the Cyclones, 104. Tell me how Texas Tech stops this guy.
Well, first off, what's crazy is the level of efficiency in which he's shooting this at. I mean, to be able to make 104 threes and you're shooting at a 51% clip, Pete, at 6'9", is absolutely unreal and unheard of. That's going to make him a lot of money.
What has changed about his game this year?
The confidence.
Yeah.
And you can tell that he's playing more free. He's smiling more when he's on the floor. He's not putting as much pressure on himself to make shots. He's not down on himself when he misses shots. It's just free, right? But if you're Texas Tech, the good thing for them is that they understand, because every single day in practice, they play against a high-level shooter in Donovan Atwell. So you understand the sense of urgency in which you need to have when you close out to that guy, when you're guarding that guy. The difference, though, Pete, is Atwell's 6'5", Momcilovic is 6'9", with the high release. So when he catches the ball, you can be all in his grill, but because he's 6'9", taller than the average wing, right, he can rise up over the top of you and let it fly even if you're there. So he doesn't see the contest. So you have to always be aware of where he is, and I'm interested to see what Grant McCasland does defensively to stop him.
I think all Big 12 fans know, specifically Kansas fans know, they have that image in their head of that 6'9" Momcilovic getting that three over the hand of Badunga in that game where Iowa State won at home. That is something that you just touched on there. All right, give me the difference maker on Saturday.
I think the difference maker is whoever can make more threes. I think it's going to come down to that. Also, Lipsy and Torrey, they're going to have big games.
Yeah.
Right? Those two guys are going to have
Defensively
have big games.
or on offense?
On offense and defense.
Okay.
Because offensively, they got to generate points because Texas Tech, the way that they've been scoring the ball, the way they can knock it down from deep, you could be in for it.
Man, I can't believe we got to stop talking about this. That was a great job by you. Really, that's a really good breakdown. All right, we're going to come back. We're going to talk to you about the NCAA tournament. Man, it is almost here. Which teams are on the bubble in the Big 12? Will they be dancing? We'll tell you all that and more coming back on Inside the 12. Inside the 12 is brought to you by Hell of a Good Dip. Game on, dip in with Hell of a Good. Here we are back inside the studios here at PGA of America. Pete Souza with King McClure. We're about to talk about life on the bubble. You ever been on the bubble? You feel like you're always somebody who's on the inside of things.
No, I've been on the bubble, and I've also been left out. My junior year, I'll make this real quick. Junior year, we thought we were in. We were out. We were one seed in the NIT. That's how close we were. Had a whole watch party and everything just to be told that we weren't going to make it and we were going to be playing at home in the NIT. Heartbreaking.
Yeah, that pizza probably tasted pretty bad after that.
It was at VTech, so we had barbecue.
Oh, barbecue.
Barbecue tasted horrible after that.
All right, let's take a look now at some of the toast of the Big 12. These teams are in, right? Number 2 ranked Arizona, 4th ranked Iowa State, 5th ranked Houston, 14th ranked Kansas, 16th ranked Texas Tech, and 19th ranked BYU. They will be there when that field of 68 is revealed. Now we got to get into some of the teams who we hope are there, but they might need a little bit of help. Is UCF right now, are they a lock, in your opinion?
100%. And I think that win at BYU on the road solidified it. I mean, what Demas Folks and Riley Kugel are able to do, the way Jordan Burks has elevated his game to the next level, I think this UCF team is 100% in. They've had some quality wins. They beat some good opponents. They played Baylor, Oak State, and West Virginia. I think all 3 of those games are winnable games. But I do think that this team, as of right now, is a lock to be in. What a turnaround for Johnny Dawkins.
Yeah, and that's when we talk about opportunities, too. They have 3 wins in the Big 12 against top 20 teams. That's what life in the Big 12 sometimes will earn you. Okay, TCU. This is a team, maybe there are some more question marks than answers around the Horned Frogs right now as they come down the stretch. How do you look at them?
I do think that TCU is right on that line. I mean, I think that the win against Florida is a way.
Yeah.
This win continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger as the weeks progress. The win against Iowa State was massive too, but I do think that game against Texas Tech is huge for them. I mean, this game against Kansas State that I'll be on Saturday will be they can't lose, they can't drop that one. But the game at Texas Tech might define their season or not.
Well, our friends at ESPN got it right again. Just announced, by the way, want to add this before we get out of here. ESPN College Game Day will be live from the Big 12 tournament, the Phillips 66 Big 12 men's basketball tournament. They'll be there for the championship game. That'll be March 14th. Game day starts at noon Eastern time. Championship game at 6 p.m. And remember, you can still get your tickets to the Phillips 66 Big 12 tournament. And let me tell you something, ain't no party like a Big 12 party.
Not at all.
Because a Big 12 party don't stop. For King McClure, I'm Pete Souza. We leave you with that corny piece of music there or some lyrics. We will see you next week on Inside the 12.